For those of us who live and breathe crypto, Bitwise is a name you want to know. They've been in the game since 2017 and now manage over 10 billion in crypto assets across 30 different solutions. Index funds, Bitcoin and crypto, equity ETFs, on-chain solutions, you name it, Bitwise does it. But here's what I really recommend checking out. Their weekly CIO memo. Every week, CIO Matt Hogan breaks down what's happening in crypto, like why Bitcoin's up or down, what the big institutions are doing, and the stories flying under the radar. It's sharp, it's free, and honestly, it's one of the best reads in crypto. Find it at bitwiseinvestments.com/CIO memo. Again, bitwiseinvestments.com/CIO memo.
Binance is the world's #1 crypto exchange. Over 275 million users already trust their world-class security. Binance makes starting crypto as simple as it should be. Whether learning about crypto on Binance Academy or browsing hundreds of assets and viewing your newly created portfolio in a clear, easy-to-track dashboard, Binance helps you go at your own pace. For the hardcore traders, Binance Pro opens a industry-leading services for trading professionals with fully bespoke trading products along with a suite of white glove services for VIP and institutional clients. Need support? 24/7 customer service is on hand whenever you need it. And with some of the lowest fees and deepest liquidity in the market, it's no surprise over 285 million users trust Binance for everything crypto. Download Binance today and get started in minutes. Binance is not available in certain countries, including the US. Check its terms for more.
Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of REKT Vision. This week, we have Stats back on the show. Markets, luckily, not looking that terrible today, although we continue to underperform stocks, which isn't really the best scenario to be in. But hopefully, this is going to be one of the very rare greener Fridays, although the market has been dumping as we've been speaking. Good to have me on, Stats. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, Mando?
I am doing fantastic. Like I said, it's been a little bit painful if you're just sitting there looking at charts or focus on crypto all week, because I think we've just been in this horrific chop from kind of about 108K, 107K to like 112. It's been a very, very tight range. It's felt like for a while here. Have you been trading actively during this period, or are you just taking it easy?
I haven't been trading actively. I never trade that actively. We're launching a product though at Memeland called Ace Trader, which is focused on day traders. So I'm working on starting up a show kind of focused on day trading. So I'm getting a little bit more into the mind space. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that. I can kind of give you the skinny on Ace Trader at some point.
God, I don't know if I'd enjoy creating a day trading app right now. It's really not been the best little period.
The basic premise of Ace Trader though is that, so basically you pay, one example is you pay $9, and if you pay $9, then you have a $1,000 kind of like paper trading stash, and if certain criteria are met, like if you get it up to 1,500, then Memeland gives you $1,000 of real capital to trade. So the idea is it's like a limited loss way to actually trade your book without worrying about losing everything. Just kind of give you access where you're getting the dopamine hits, you have real upside, you know, because if you actually do trade well, you get $1,000 of real cash that you get to trade, and it's like an 80-20 split on the profits. But if you bust, you only lose $9. And then we have a $100 and a $169 tier as well, where you can earn a $10,000 or $20,000 bag. So yeah, it's kind of a fun product, and the repeat rates of people who join is pretty high. So it's product market fit feels like it's right.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely going to find people who can degen. If you can make it to fit kind of the scroll economy of like Zoomers, I think that can probably work quite well. I think with Memeland that will work quite well. Overall, just to give it a little bit of a market picture, though, we are kind of here 110K on Bitcoin again. BNB around 1,100, Solana 190, and ETH kind of still below 4K. We had again, a couple of hairy moments where it's felt like we were going to break down. I think Bitcoin probably touched as low as like 105K this week, but it's kind of bounced back. And frustratingly, this has been in an environment where the stock market and, well, not gold for the whole week, but gold has been in a very strong, let's say, medium-term trend. And the stock market's it's up again today, just breaking new highs. It feels like every day. We've spoken about this quite a lot before about, this is a lot of digestion of long-term supply. But just from where you're sitting as well, Stats, because I know you're kind of involved in looking at macro and stocks, and maybe where you are in the world also makes you look at a lot more of the tech side of the world. Do you think we're just losing out in this like medium term battle for focus from investors at the moment? Is crypto just kind of like this forgotten horse at the moment?
Feels a little bit like it. I think we got so much adrenaline and so much buy pressure from the DATs and from Saylor and from all these other. I mean, we just had like 6 months of everyone and their mom's VC trying to raise money to buy Bitcoin and expect people to pay you 1.2x for every $1. And that was a ton of buying, and I think we reaped the benefits of that. But now, like, the flip side to having buyers who aren't like long-term holders, who aren't people who believe, is like that eventually, that starts to deflate a little bit. So I feel like that's a bit of a headwind. I never know what's going on with like the whales and what, who are the big wallets that actually matter in this space. I have a harder time with that, but I think the underperformance of gold has been pretty annoying. The underperformance of the stock market's a little annoying. Net, I think it's hard not to see it as a buying opportunity, at least for the majors. Like, that's just kind of, I feel like we're about to go into a stretch where Jerome Powell leaves and someone who, and we're going to get just an extremely loose Fed. And I feel like that's kind of what risk assets are telling us right now. And I feel like that has to be conducive to Bitcoin continuing to do well if whatever technical overhang or fundamental overhang we have clears up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly who is the people selling, but it does seem to be a large, even this week. We kind of rallied at one stage up to 113, 114K when gold dipped about midweek, and then seemingly a big wallet came in and sold on Binance. And then people have, there's a lot of talk of like manipulation when you start to get this sort of levels. So I always think it's a little bit tinfoil hatty, but it does feel as though there are definitely some big wallets that are continuing to sell. And I don't know if that's going to be just a temporary thing, or it's a 4-year cycle thing, or maybe it is a little bit of suppression. Who kind of knows? It has definitely been frustrating for a lot of people because Bitcoin dominance has been going higher as well in this world. We're back up to around 60% on Bitcoin dominance, which has meant that kind of all you've had is the altcoins bleeding. We did have some slightly bullish news out of some of the L1s this week. BNB looks like CZ did get the pardon, which we were speaking about for a while. That went up to about 1,150, but it's just kind of hanging out where it was. And then Hyperliquid had a bit of a bounce back up to around 40. They went on TBPN, which is this famous tech podcast this week. At least Jeff did, the founder, and they got listed on Robinhood, and I think there was a $1 billion DAT also announced for them. So some very good for Hyperliquid. Still only at 40, like just kind of hanging out there. Again, is Hyperliquid one that you kind of have seen a bit more mainstream at the moment? On like,
I see like, I get a lot of like mainstream finance like press, and you see random things like the crypto exchange that's making billions that you've never heard of. Like Bloomberg will send that email, coming from real people, from Bloomberg. I see it on Yahoo Finance. You see it on the occasional portal. So I feel like Hyperliquid is just, I had a friend ping me, ask me about Hyperliquid, just a guy who works for a hedge fund in New York, isn't in crypto. So I feel like it's kind of bursting a little bit out into the world a little bit, and you're starting to see a few more people take it seriously than, we all do, but you're starting to see people in the real world take it seriously. And I think in crypto, for people who like want cash flowing assets or products where you can kind of understand where the money comes from, I feel like Hyperliquid's a little bit easier than most of the others.
Yeah, I think within crypto it's found its place. There's obviously been a bit more of a perp dex battle going on over the last few last few months, but Hype has been one that I bought a little bit of this week. I just kind of felt on the back of that, him going on this podcast, it just felt like one of these things where if it goes a bit more mainstream, that people, I think he said some very like kind of crazy stuff, like our TAM is all of finance and all this sort of stuff. So it gets people either bullish or thinking it's kind of ridiculous at the same time. But either way, I just kind of felt like that was going to turn heads, and maybe that would cause a little bit of a rally. But the ones that have been holding up in general, even in this chop and this rise in Bitcoin dominance, has been the revenue generating protocols. It's not like they're doing amazing, but things like Pump, things like Hyperliquid, things like Athena, even Aster kind of bounced this week. It feels as though that's still the strongest narrative, and largely alongside some of the DeFi stuff. Sorry, you go.
I was just
going to say, is that kind of shocked you too, that versus this time last year, and obviously you work with Memeland as well, which is kind of this touching upon, like, let's say, finance with memes. It's been surprising that all this DeFi stuff has kind of been the winners over the last 12 months. The only real stuff that feels like it has sustained interest. If you were having this conversation 12 months ago about what would be the stuff that rallies, you probably would have said a ton of memes. And now it just feels like it's this stuff, and it's a bit more TradFi.
Yeah, I think one thing I learned working at Goldman Sachs for 8 years and talking to a lot of investors is when people are talking about the future, they know it's normally a good metric or a good proxy for what's happened in the past 2 weeks. So yeah, meme coins were running. So everyone says meme coins are the new meta, and then they rally. But the problem is, like, when Fart coin goes from 1 to 50 cents or from $1 to 30 cents, like, who's to say that's a buy? Like, Fart coin is only a buy if you have people on the timeline saying that this is the new Dogecoin and freaking out about it and telling everyone. But like, once that chart kind of has once that chart has its moment, and then you realize, like, actually, like, this is not this cultural thing we hoped it would be, it becomes very hard to bet on it going back to $1 billion before it goes to zero. Like, I mean, zero is the wrong number because these things tend to have communities that, like, don't take them to zero. But like, I think meme coins is just like, or take MOG or any of these things, for example, like, when the community and the narrative run out of mojo and run out of energy, like, what are you buying?
I know, but I mean, this time 12 months ago, utility was bearish. It was like memes, everything is a meme. You need to own that, and the strongest memes will survive. It was like kind of more like the original Doge Bitcoin sort of narrative, right? Like, it's just as valuable as we all think it was. Now it feels like utility is valuable. And even, I mean, obviously 2 weeks ago we had this horrific dump which just took out so many different altcoins. They just haven't bounced, those alts. Like,
No.
Well, particularly not the memes, but the vast majority of altcoins have kind of gone back to that lower level now, which is kind of a little bit disturbing. Even with Bitcoin 110K, it's really bounced, but there's definitely been some damage, longer term damage than I think I would have originally expected from that move. I kind of felt like we would get a really nice flush and bounce, and it's really just been a bounce in Bitcoin and a couple of these sort of like revenue producing protocols.
Yeah, look, I think everything else is a momentum asset. Like, it's just hard to call these things anything other than momentum assets. And when the momentum dies, what are you buying? And it's like you're buying a hope that the momentum returns and that the community returns and that the cultural attention returns. Like, that's what you're buying. But when people just got wiped out and people are a bit more afraid of leverage, that's the other piece. Like, I mentioned the DATs in the beginning, but I also think you kind of got to wonder how much leverage has driven this market. And when you get the flush that you got two weeks ago, like, just does that remove that piece of the market from where you're at, and how much are we suffering now because you don't have people buying alts on 20x leverage because that was what killed them 2 weeks ago. And I think, like, and that's what, and you hear stories of people who got totally wiped out. So, like, it just feels like the market's just a bit simmered down to that. And I think that becomes especially hard with the tokens that don't have fundamental value and whose only value is the community and the momentum. And in that environment, though, something like Hype can keep doing well, because it's just easier to wrap your head around the idea of, I want to get access to the perp dex that is kind of taking over crypto and probably will continue to do so in the future, and I want access to those earnings. Like, that's just an easier story to not get too bearish about, especially when you're getting listed on Robinhood. And like, I think like with Solana, there's always this kind of like underlying tension that some ETFs are going to happen. And, I think like when you have those narratives, like things stay afloat. When you start losing that stuff, like it becomes really hard to buy at any valuation.
Do you have a strong view on like the cycle, or like if we're in a cycle, or are you kind of more of a view that we're kind of following a bit more of macro here?
I feel like this cycle's still intact. I feel like the animal spirits aren't there in the same way that we like them to be. But I just think we're going to like continue to be in, all risk assets are saying we're entering like a loose money period. Like that Trump's going to get his way when it comes to the Fed. You're going to get a new Fed chair, which we all know is a fact because Jerome Powell's term ends. And that, Trump's a real estate guy. He wants 0% interest rates. Like, it's just what he wants. And he's going to like do whatever. He's not going to pick someone who's not going to be as dovish as humanly imaginable. And that's coming in 8 months. And I just think like, I just don't know. And I think that's what gold's telling us. That's, and Bitcoin's just, I just feel like over time, eventually you just get these catch-up rallies, but we're still just getting used to Bitcoin being over 100K. Like that was a huge deal a few months ago. We're getting used to it. Like crypto has been overall strong, but
yeah,
I'm not too worried about it. As far as the animal spirit cycle though, like that does feel like that's kind of losing a bit of its mojo, and we care about the animal spirits. One thing that my dad always says is in a bull market, you just got to show up. And the problem with crypto is people get cute. You start going, this is a bull market, just put your stuff in the majors that are going to rally. But if you get too cute and doing leverage, if you're buying like some flyer that doesn't have fundamental value, but you think it's going to 5x, like I feel like that's where people are not making money in these cycles.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for us because we do have to show up in the bear markets. I mean, I definitely do. I do like a daily show and daily podcast, but there's definitely been moments over the last few weeks I'm just like, you know what, I could really use just 48 hours of not looking at this sort of stuff. It's been such a horrific chop during this period. And you will have to have that faith that, yeah, we'll catch up. I know Raoul was pitching kind of this catch up with gold, and that was a bit of the narrative, like it felt like, oh, gold's moving. We always see Bitcoin move after gold moves. Gold then did dip, and Bitcoin initially looked like it was about to shoot up and then just got smashed right back down. It's like, what are we waiting for here, guys?
Yeah, the lack of correlation is pretty wild. I mean, I'm not sure like the numbers on how historically correlated there. I can kind of have a look at that right now, actually, but like it is wild how it's almost like gold and Bitcoin are moving in opposite directions. Like, I mean, Bitcoin's historically been more correlated with like Tesla than gold anyway, but even there on the tech side, it just feels like it's kind of marching right now.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was correlated to Tesla. It doesn't feel like it's correlated to either of them right now. That's the point. It just feels it's its own thing. It just goes sideways. If you kind of zoom out on the Bitcoin chart, we have kind of been in this. I mean, let me bring up the daily. Been here since May, basically. We after we rebounded, but before that, we were kind of chopping around the 100K level for a while. It's been a remarkably tight range over those sort of periods. We had one period of chop, broke back up pretty quickly, and then been in this chop sit for a few months. I think it's December. I still think we've got more time of this. My gut tells me that Bitcoin dominance will continue to go high here the more we chop. I think it's just there's after that flush in alts, I think there's just a lot of, and just the general timeline exhaustion. I feel as though people are ready to throw out their alts as soon as they go down like 3 to 5% because there's just not a lot of faith in them. And if Bitcoin doesn't break out or start hit all-time highs, I think people will just be like, look, I just want a Bitcoin for a little bit here. So yeah, I've definitely been rotating even more into kind of Bitcoin over this period now. But I'm bullish. I am bullish, but I do think that it's a period here where Bitcoin dominance goes even higher.
What does that mean? You're bullish? You're bullish on crypto? You're bullish on alts? You're bullish on just like Bitcoin?
I'm bullish as in like I don't think this is the end of some sort of cycle. Like this doesn't feel to me like an end of cycle. Bitcoin goes down to 80K. Something's really wrong. This feels to me like those periods of chop where everyone just has a terrible time, cuts themselves up getting bullish on every 1% move in Bitcoin. And it's probably better just to own Bitcoin and do nothing for a long time.
Yeah, and
Not
that's
a long
kind
time,
of,
but
honestly, that's kind of like what I've been doing. And like when things got dirty, like at when that like when the nasty correction happened, I was like buying Bitcoin, buying Solana, and like neither of those trades have played out. Like I'd say all those buys are like down a little bit. So maybe I'm just talking my book here, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still pretty bullish about it. Like the thing about crypto also is you just never know what dead whales are lurking under the tide. Like you never know where the leverage is, where is the unwind. I think these DATs start to put a little pressure or create a little bit of an existential risk a little bit, just in the sense that if they
you
start.
still think that? You still think the DATs are a worry? I feel like they've just gone quiet rather than become a worry. Maybe that's the quiet before the storm.
Is it well? I don't want to like be too sensationalist about it. I just wonder like if these things really start like trading at a discount to NAV in a meaningful way, do shareholders ever start to say return the cash? Like, is that a viable option, or is this Bitcoin just locked away forever and connected to a ticker, and like we don't have to worry about it and it's vaulted, you know? But I would think that there's very little reason anyone would want to own a DAT relative to owning IBIT or owning Bitcoin itself. So like
Yeah.
why shouldn't they start trading at a very real discount? And then at that point you're like, fuck it, we'll sell the Bitcoin and get the cash and make a 10% trade.
I have actually updated my thoughts slightly on that because I did speak to one of the key people at one of these major DATs,
Sweet.
or nameless. But I asked
Michael
him
Saylor?
about, yeah, I asked him about this discount. Like, would they be attractive at any stage? You know, like someone that's above MNAV and someone who's below. And he said no. He said that like the legal ramifications often of these purchases and the difficulties in negotiations just mean it's just not worth it. They might as well just buy the Bitcoin. Um, so that makes me think that consolidation won't happen and it will be a more messy situation, like you just said. Unless because shareholders would always just want to get MNAV, so why not? Yeah, so
Yeah, there
my
comes a time where if these things are available, if there's any way to unwind the Bitcoin, a Citadel or who I don't know Citadel, but like any big hedge fund, why wouldn't you just go buy it on demand the cash back?
yeah,
Like it's trade like that's like a quick 5% trade, which makes someone's month. Like
yeah, exactly. It feels like that would be the quickest way, and then that is not the nicest unwind, is it? Really?
no,
That is actually probably one of the main overhang if things go really badly. On the other hand, though, we have JP Morgan coming out today saying, look, we're going to allow Bitcoin and ETH used for collateral. Seemingly that would be for like loans or property purchases, which I think is when you start to get stuff like that, that's pretty useful, I think, for a um,
yeah.
huge financial power for these assets suddenly in the US, and that's been coming for a while, but it's definitely been there. It still feels like the market structure bill is that it's around. I know there were crypto executives in Washington this week trying to speak to, I think it Senate Democrats, really trying to get them on the side around all of this, which I think is going to be a little bit of a difficult ask given what's been going on with the Trumps, as we've spoken about before. But there's still a path there, I think, and some people feel particularly bullish about it. And then the other thing is like the government shutdown ideally ending, and yeah, then I think there's something like 150 ETFs waiting to be approved at the moment, which would
Yeah.
be, that would be bullish too. So there is still some stuff. Is there any stuff?
I think the fundamental story is still bullish. It's like, Vanguard, you still can't even buy Bitcoin. That's going to change, I imagine. Like all these different banks are finally starting to recommend crypto as kind of like a gold alternative. Like all the you're going to have an extremely loose monetary policy. You've got a president who is in bed with the crypto lobby. Like there are so many reasons to be bullish right now. It's just with crypto because you have these external things, or like we got this huge pump from the DATs. Like you just get these overhangs that like have to get worked through. that kind of like can slow us down when everything else is pumping. And I think it's just that simple. But I think the fundamental story is the same as it's been for the past year. And it's pretty hard to deny that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
It's hard
Washington,
though. It's hard though. We're dopamine people, man. We're not used to 3 week chops. We're like, fuck that.
man, I'll
Get
take
me my
anything at this
Nvidia.
stage. I'll take anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dopamine's gone. All we've had is a massive liquidation, which I managed to survive, and then just more chop. You would assume that would lead to like massive volatility in the background, but it's kind of meant within this very tight range. Whenever we kind of
Yeah.
get below 107, 108K, we just kind of
Is
kind
ETH
of
ever
bounce.
going to get to 5,000? Is that ever? I'm more worried about ETH than Bitcoin just because I feel like ETH had that the Tom Lee bid for for so long. Like that bid, those guys bought like 2% of Ethereum in like a month. Like,
Yeah.
and that was such a tailwind. And it's like, what's the story without those guys? Whereas Bitcoin, I mean, the story's always kind of just been like it's the next easiest thing to buy after Bitcoin's rallied, but that's good. We're first we got to get Bitcoin to rally before we can start telling that story. And yeah, ETH almost worries me more.
It's interesting to me that the majority of TradFi friends that I know, they've never asked me about Hype or Solana. They've only ever asked me about ETH.
Oh, really?
And I think it's probably something that they've heard about. So like they feel, like, oh yeah, I've heard of that before. I still think that is quite powerful in terms of ETH being around for the longest and being seen as like quote unquote the safest. Whether that's true or not, like that's perception, I think. I think will be a big deal.
It's the only one with an ETF other than IBIT right now. Like other than Bitcoin, like I think
Right.
it's hard to downplay how much that matters to a traditional finance guy. Like just because it's the simplicity and form factor. It's like I can just buy it in one click. I can go on a Vanguard, I can go on a Schwab, I can go on a JPMorgan.com, whatever. I can do it everything I'm used to. It's lower fee to buy. I mean, Robinhood's easy to buy crypto, but they charge huge fees in and out. But if you buy IBIT, it's like Apple stock.
So I guess what I'm trying to say though is that as it goes higher, particularly on this TradFi driving the price higher, I think it gains quite a lot of momentum, unlike the many of the others, because it feels like you have suddenly, if you remember what the stories were like when ETH was, at 5K, basically, it was look how many stable coins they have. Like, what a big narrative this is going to be. That hasn't gone away. Look at like how long this has been around. Like we can tokenize everything and put it on ETH. All the big funds are doing that. Then it was the DAT trade coming, and then it was the the ETH foundations really turning stuff around and pushing forward with their own agenda again. And it really felt like that was like a turning point. I think those things come back. I think it's really just a period here of narrative following price, as it always kind of does. But
I don't know if I buy it. I don't know if I buy it. I think that the last rally was the Joe Lubin, Tom Lee rally. And then whenever but that's a shitty narrative. You can't go around telling, oh, we're just doing it because these two whales are buying 2% of Ethereum in 1 month. That's the only reason we're at. No, yeah. Much better is to be like, but stable coins, but gas, but this, but that, but da. Like, no, I think that was all just like people trying to be able to look themselves in the mirror and stay bullish in the morning without realizing that we're dependent on two whales. And I just don't think that's a price driver.
Look, I'm fully in agreement with you that there was a narrative that was to be played. I was very public about when I played it and kind of when I got out of it too, or got out the majority of it at least. I agree that the DAT narrative isn't coming back, so it needs to kind of get that narrative back a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think a lot of these things solve themselves when Bitcoin starts hitting an all-time high. Do you know what I mean? It's like these are the problems of us when Bitcoin feels slightly listless, and suddenly when Bitcoin hits 125K, everyone's like, well, he's definitely going to break through an all-time high now.
Yeah. Well, I got a question for you. I have not done what I normally do and gone to CryptoPunks.app in a while. I just did it, went to 38 ETH. What the fuck?
Well, have you not been following what went on? Good sir, with Punk Strategy.
Oh, did Punk Strategies, is that what happened? They lowered their price point?
Well, I think that's what's happened with a lot of the NFTs that ended up having the punks, the having a strategy style token, is that there was an initial drive up from buying of the NFTs. Remember, about 2 months ago as well, there was a lot of conversations about NFT DATs, and that we were about to see that. And I personally haven't seen any materialize, although there may be some like just waiting to happen. I'd heard a lot about CryptoPunks DATs, and they were imminently going to launch, and you know, CryptoPunks really just felt like they were just going to go, they were going to moon. And then suddenly that all just died away. And then Punk Strategy came in and did the same thing. But there's a lot of NFTs now owned by these strategy tokens. And I think the whole NFT market has kind of been dragged down. Punk Strategy, I think, actually only has like maybe 30. So it's not like the most crazy thing, but they are kind of all for sale suddenly. And yeah, I don't know. NFTs definitely do not feel the second order impacts of the strategy tokens becoming big has generally been that NFTs feel not good. Punk Strategy is down to 50 million now. So that one was all the way up at 300, I think, at one stage. And if I was to buy any of them, it would have been Punk Strategy. I think I said that when we had them on. But now there's just such a deflation in the whole ecosystem, and it's driven a lot of them down.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, what do you think about that trade now? Punks versus Bitcoin.
One thing I learned when in the Blur fiasco is that people buying stuff for a reason other than the fact that they like it and want to hold it tends to never end well. Like and it can have a real negative effect when you end up getting this bid, which leads to normal holders selling, and it's like a supply transfer of the incremental punk from real holders to this kind of like weird technical thing that at its core has zero interest in the collectible. And like that just tends to have a really heavy prices on NFTs because NFTs are all about perception. Like, and if your perception of like the incremental buyer and seller is this entity that you know has zero interest in holding and everyone's there for another reason, like the entire house of cards falls. Like everything, because I'm a believer in punks. I own 3 of them. I got my girl up there, but all these things that come in and people think are like for some technical DeFi reason actually going to turn these collectibles and send them higher. I just like I never believe it. It never works because at the end of the day, the only thing that makes punks go higher is people like me who've got 3 punks that they want to give to their kids. Like everything else is just smoke and mirrors and crypto people getting excited about this amazing DeFi thing that no one understands that you do understand and whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't work. I'm sorry. And
I think that's a very good point. I think it's a very good point. I think, and it's happened a few times in NFT history. Obviously, the Blur thing was one where you're getting incentives to buy NFTs, you know, for a platform, and it's not really a real buyer. There's like another reason why you're buying them. It does change that.
And
like
the seller is a real seller. The seller's a real holder. That's the part you have to realize. It is a transfer. It is a transfer of it from someone who's like, "Ooh, I got this kind of artificial buyer here, like pubs, like I might otherwise hold. I'm gonna like that can like spur people who are like, I own this, I like it, but if there are these new incremental buyers who don't like who are artificial, good opportunity to get out. So you get this transfer from real holders to people who are then going to dump. And once you know that those guys who are going to dump are the supply holders, there is zero reason to buy because those are not patient people. Those are people who are just going to get out with the next bid. So you'd be crazy to buy because you know that there are 30 of them. And it just it builds on itself.
It feels, I wouldn't say we're at the end of that experimentation. I do think that Punk Strategy can probably come back. Definitely Punk Strategy. I don't know about the other tokens necessarily, but it has, I think also the massive liquidation, it hurt a lot of just the speculation bit of the market. Like people really got hurt on meme coins and on NFTs and perp trading, and it just felt like this is kind of my view of Bitcoin again. Like it just feels like people are not, they're moving down the risk, up the risk curve. Like they do not want to necessarily hold this stuff right now during a chop or after they've burnt out so much.
I mean, we're in the FOMO game at the end of the day. We're in the FOMO game. It's like what creates FOMO? you know, and everyone says like, you know, there's the old phrase, greed and fear. And are you feeling greedy right now? You're like, fuck, if I don't get involved in the market, all my friends are going to get rich and I'm not going to get rich. Like, this is my chance. Are you feeling fear? Like, ooh, if this goes the wrong way, then that's a month's salary down the drain. And I think a lot more, you know, that's just what drives the market. It's simple.
Then we should be buying stacks. This should be our moment.
I just
It
told you
really
I'm
depends
buying
how.
Solana and Bitcoin. I'm buying Solana and Bitcoin. I'll buy.
Actually, could we just speak about that for a minute? When have I ever heard you talk about buying Solana? Like,
I,
this must be
right.
one of the first times ever.
I know. Well, I'm buying Bitcoin right now. $1,000. Let's clear.
Here we go. Here we go.
Right here.
We're
Just
moving
to
the
show you.
market. We're moving the
Yeah.
market right
All
now.
right. All right. $1,500 of Bitcoin just bought on. So I'm doing it. I'm buying. I'm not like you. I'm not like in this. Shouldn't we be buying on a podcast? I'm like, no, I'm doing it live. Solana, well, $1,000.
All right. If everyone who's watching this buys, we will buy 5,000. You know, so we'll be good.
Yeah. All right. I just bought 6 Sol. I bought 6 Solana. All right. Let's go. No, the reason Solana is just I don't know. I kind of like think that it's like you and hype. I kind of just like these ETF narratives. Maybe I should buy some hype. I can do that on Robinhood now.
Hype feels to me like one of the better looking L1s here. ETH has been a frustrating trade. I kind of moved a little bit back. I caught BNB well. I rotated some of that into ETH, and ETH has not really had a good week. I really felt like it was going to bounce and do well. Hype, and then on Thursday, I bought a lot of hype, and that's been great. I like being in hype. Hype has gone up since then, so it's been
monkey
hype
like.
maxi. So yeah, exactly. But it's
here's
painful.
the question
like,
though. When the way you pitch hype though is like it was about the listing and it was about the dude going on TV and all that stuff, that already happened. And I feel like sometimes like the minute your catalyst passes, you gotta if that's the story you told yourself, don't make up a new story, then end the trade.
Maybe I should. You're telling me to sell? You're telling me to sell right now?
I'm just saying, if the reason you're in it was for the listing and the dude on TV, well, that's happened. And I think sometimes people like the catalyst passes, but you know, no one likes to sell like until it's going down, you know. So like, but if your catalyst, if your story already passed and the market said thanks but no thanks, don't make up a new story. Just move on.
So I think that's important. It's very difficult to work out where you are on the importance, like where you are in the on like realizing that narrative. One thing I do feel about hype is that if you'd asked me, and this is probably the same Fartcoin, if you'd asked me 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 6 months ago, actually, like what was like the #1 coin that CT owned and would do well if it went higher, I would have said those 2 coins. I would have said hype and Fartcoin.
Yep.
And I agree with you that Fartcoin like is part of like I'm talking a lot about it, but like it's a secular trend in memes. Like memes don't really go going higher. But I think hype has moved away from that very quickly since the whole Asta thing came out and now the fight for perp dexes. And that you can see that why people like Arthur Hayes semi-bear posting it right now, who was literally 2 months ago saying this thing's going to go to $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
And that I like buying things when I feel like that it would be painful if it rallied for people. Yes. And I think that hype is back in that sort of world where if it rallies, I think people might feel pain about it. And the 2 things that I put for that is what I just said about Arthur Hayes. I also saw Ansem when the whole liquidation thing happened was basically saying, oh, I think hype's going to go low because people unstick their hype to sell and all this sort of stuff. And I just kept on thinking, these guys are all kind of, they're definitely not as big as they were. And that makes me more bullish on it.
Yeah. Well, I just bought some, so you convinced me.
Oh, here we go. We're all in. God, this is what this show's become. We're gonna move multi-billion-dollar coins.
I gotta support Robinhood, you know. They list hype, I buy hype.
That's been a mixed bag. They've missed it. They've definitely they have listed a few things recently, and it's been some stuff's worked, some stuff hasn't.
I think listings are often buy the rumor, sell the news type of stuff. I mean, I always think of like the caddies at the place I play golf. If they're all on Robinhood nonstop, then you want to buy the news because it's just this whole new group of buyers. But I feel like the animal spirits caddies, golf caddies, who just like are trading their $1,000 bags on Robinhood. Oh, they aren't really doing that right now with crypto. And I feel like it's buy the rumor, sell the news in that zone. It'd be interesting to look at Robinhood earnings and just get a feel for how much they're making off crypto and like how that's changed. That'd actually kind of be a good reflection of like animal spirits in retail.
Yeah, I mean, Robinhood stock has definitely been a good stock to own over the last 18 months. I think they've definitely done better on crypto than they were doing before, but it's just painful when we're underperforming all, like you said, all the other animal spirit sort of assets, whether it's tech stocks or meme stocks or maybe even like gold.
What platform? I mean, yeah, right now you'd rather trade like 2x Nvidia ETFs, or 2x Nvidia trackers. Like that's just where the animal spirits are right now, or Constellation Energy or whatever it is. Like that's the stuff that feels juicy, I think, than crypto. Where if you're out at a bar and you get drunk and you're like, I'm gonna buy Bitcoin, what app do you use?
Binance. I use Binance primarily, yeah. But I'm outside the US, so it's like you're not going to find better liquidity than Binance.
At my size, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Maybe I should have said that. No,
I'm not shaking up the market with my 25 hype coins,
Yeah, that's throughout all coins though. Like you won't find more liquidity than, which is why it was so shocking what happened the other day, because Binance is like 50% of the market in most of these coins globally. So when that breaks down, you're like, whoa, what is going on here? I do hyperliquid for certain things, but yeah, it really depends. It really depends.
You do hyperliquid on mobile?
Yeah, well, I use it on my phone. I don't know if it's like I have one of those like web apps for it.
Yeah,
it's decent. It's decent. It's good. I think.
Yeah, I use Robinhood, which is dumb. It's just because I'm like, because the fees are terrible. Like you're down 1.5% or something before you start. But it's just like they've really nailed the UI, and it's just kind of reflex.
Where I am, I don't think even Robinhood exists. It's still very US centric, I think, but I think they are opening it in various different bits of Europe. So like, it's maybe going to be a big thing. I'm a fan of Robinhood though. Like I think they are going to be a successful company just the way they're talking about it. Speaking about it this week, the other major bit of headline that came from exchanges was that Kobe's Echo platform was bought for $375 million.
Yeah.
Plus $25 million to restart up only, it seems. Made me think that I'm selling myself too cheap at the moment for crypto media. What do you make of that purchase? It's a bit of a trend at the moment. Very acquisitive right now, a lot of crypto companies, and also these sort of companies that have been built natively by crypto people or crypto KOLs. This is like the second one of those deals we very recently seen. Trader Main's platform was bought. It just feels like maybe there's this idea that not only are the companies but also the personalities in crypto are suddenly quite valuable.
I think that within crypto, and I think this, and I think you've been successful because of this, like people with good distribution are just extremely valuable. And Kobe is the Jesus, he's like the number one guy. I think when you think of like kind of just people who have platforms that other people tune into and that can create virality, like, and Coinbase wanted some of that. Like, I can't think I just feel like like when I talk to influencers, people with 50,000 followers on Twitter who are just kind of in the game right now, like almost every post they make about a coin, they're probably getting 5 figures for. Like there's just like a real business out there right now to be, I don't mean for that coin, but I mean for a month of kind of partnership. Like you're making real money in that game right now. And I think Kobe, like I said, is just at the pinnacle of that. And these brands and these companies that have great products but don't have influencers in our space, like this is not a space where you're going to go put up a Super Bowl ad. I mean, unless you're what Gabe Layden, and that was his death sentence. Like this isn't a place where you're going to go put up a billboard, or you're not going to put up a Google ad. You're going to get someone like Kobe or someone like Mando or someone like ICO Beast or whoever to like start talking about you. And there's enormous value in that space right now. Like people are making money.
Yeah, that's been the other trend. The big prediction markets have come in and hired very prominent influencers. Essentially, ICOBs has been one of them. John Wang, I think, is the other one that was hired for Kalshi, and Polymarket is similarly doing the same thing. It feels, I don't know, feels like we're going a bit more mainstream, or at least the value behind these businesses they're seeing that it's useful to have like native media or it reminds me of NFT cycle slightly, in that there is an understanding somewhat that if Coinbase were to launch something like this, or if let's say more of a TradFi company was to create a platform like Echo, it would never be successful because it just wouldn't be trusted, or like it wouldn't be seen as like one of our own things. And I think there's something to be said about that right now, because for a long time, crypto was kind of seen as a pariah, let's say, in global industry. And now they know that a lot of these more traditional businesses that are coming in now and realizing that if they buy something in crypto, their stock price is going to go up. They realize they can't build it in-house because they were basically part of the people calling it a pariah for so long. It's probably a good time to be involved in various crypto businesses, I feel like. I mean, Memeland must feel that a little bit too, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think like for us, it's just, I mean, Memeland's like a company that before I got there, had their pumped like $5 billion token. And then I think once something like that deflates, it can be hard to rebuild the FOMO story but I think what we are doing is building products that we think are going to generate revenue and use that revenue to reward token holders. And we have the listed company. So along with all the things you want to do to create community and to create energy and get people excited about being part of, get the word out, not just on crypto Twitter, but also to investors in Korea and Turkey and all these other places. Like, I think that's like a huge thing. And then the second thing is like building products that actually build narrative and can generate cash flow you can buy the token with or promote the token with. And I think like that's kind of the path, but that's a bit more of a slog. It's much easier to launch Bonk and watch it go to, a couple billion, because why not, but you don't get that many shots at that unless you're Turbo. Didn't Turbo do it twice?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously I've seen you guys build the credit card style business, and then it's been the trading platform.
Yeah, this Ace Trader thing is still in beta, but if anyone wants access, hit me up at Punk9059 or on Telegram, Punk9059, send me a DM. But yeah, like right now it's just in beta. Like I think only 100 wallets are allow listed for it, but anyone who wants it will allow list. And then we're just trying to make sure the infrastructure works, and we'll go out with it sooner. But it's a good business. Like it's a good business. It's good product market fit. I think it's good value proposition to traders who are like, I don't want to risk my entire family's money, but I want some skin in the game. Like, and it does two things. One is it gives you a chance to make money, and two is it allows you to see if you're good. And like,
yeah,
but no one wants to do it. It's never, you need some dopamine. You can't just be like, I'm going to go paper trade on Binance and see how my imaginary money goes. You need to like know that if you do well, you're making something. And I think that this gives you enough of that while limiting your downside. And yeah, I think that's why people keep coming back.
Yeah, I think gamified trading could be a future. I mean, I'm part of this synthetics competition at the moment, which is kind of this winner takes all competition. And it's fun, like just to go to try things out, go max risk and see what happens. That's very much like a winner takes all sort of tournament, but this feels like it's probably the same sort of incentives to see if you can make it.
Of the things that you're focused on, you've got Yeet, you've got your meme coin, you've got your media platform, you've got the other stuff you're doing. Like, how do you rank order kind of your kind of current priority list and in terms of excitement level?
In terms of myself or like the market, I think REKT and Yeet are take up the majority of my time. Yeet takes up the majority of my time, if I'm honest. Like there is a huge amount of stuff going on there, and I'm effectively kind of the CEO there. So it's about 45 people we have. So it takes a lot of time, although we have like a full team of 4 founders who kind of all pitch in to do stuff. But that's been the main thing. And then REKT, I'm more like a advisor, I would say. Like there's like the fun bits of the business, which is like the events and the and the partnerships which I can help with, but like the drinks operation side of the business, I'm largely away from. And then yeah, the media stuff takes a lot of time, and Epic I kind of keep going as well. Like that's linked now to a lot of different buybacks we've been doing in gaming. So it's difficult. They all once you realize, and you've probably realized this having been around in crypto for a while as well, like you just kind of get involved doing different things. Like you don't really, whatever path you kind of start with in crypto is never going to be where you end up. The platform side of the stuff is the really thing that shifted that for us. So like I could have just been a trader the whole time in crypto and just kind of like chilled. And there's definitely people who go down that path. But as soon as you start creating podcasts and newsletters and stuff, I think doors open, and then it's kind of fun to see where they go. That's kind of where a lot of this stuff has been. I can see why a lot of these sort of crypto native businesses now are going to be bought, because it's it takes a while to build that sort of up, and I think it's once you have that platform, it's very valid, it's very trusted, and I think that's one of the main things in crypto, that if you pass this like the social capital test, then people will kind of trust a lot of the stuff that you kind of get involved in, which I think is important.
With your kind of media platform, what do you think? How would you rank order what's been the best ROI? Like your newsletter, your tweeting, your podcasting, like what?
You know, when we originally started doing this podcast for Raul, we were like, oh look, we like doing it. We'd love to kind of meet more professional people doing it, because generally, when we had actually our biggest wins in crypto in general was meeting professional people and then getting involved in either deal flow or like involved in their businesses. And we just didn't really feel like we had the biggest partnerships around that. So I think probably it's been the podcasting bit of the business, which has definitely been the biggest. But it's not from sponsorships. It's from the doors that opens and the people that you meet doing it. That was the biggest, and then obviously then the byproduct of that is kind of the product side of stuff as well. Like you can launch different products and you have like an easy way to speak to people. So, but it's the podcast in general. I think being genuine, just generally online, is quite a big thing. It's one thing I've realized quite early on is as long as you're like not you don't have a huge ego, and you kind of you just genuine works. So that's been something I think, being British in this space, slightly self-deprecating with OSF, I think has helped from the start. In crypto, you get a lot of people who kind of come in and tell you how like absolutely incredible they are and show you their P&Ls and all this sort of stuff, and I don't think they're necessarily the people that you trust to do many things in this space. There is that world though, right? There is that world of trenches where, have you got involved in any of this sort of world? The new Zoomer community that just they just trade memes all day, and the KOLs in that part of the space are very different. It feels like it's very much just like, how much money have you made? They barely tweet at all. You just know them by their like token address.
It's
the strange.
I mean, I remember like the days where like Frank was like really deep in that game, and a couple guys I knew were kind of deep in that game. And I mean, then you had the time where like Thread Guy and all those guys just kind of bombed out, or I just said bombed out, just like left Twitter for a month or something bad. I don't remember why. I feel like that was the closest I ever was to it, when it was kind of interesting for a little while, but I have not been in that zone for the past few months.
It's still going. Like if you there is a whole sector of even this core crypto community that barely know any of the major KOLs. Their KOLs are just like a guy like Copsy, for example, who just makes 50 grand a day and barely tweets, but he's like known as being a really good meme coin trader.
Maybe Dave Portnoy was what killed that meta. The Portnoy meta. I feel like that was kind of towards the end of the downslope.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, to be clear, the trenches have not had a good period. The number of traders has been going down substantially, but there still is this core community who evangelize these sort of first to get to coin people. And there's a whole business around it. I mean, Axiom, which is, it's kind of not many people if you're not in that world, you wouldn't know about it, but it's a trading bot which has made something like $300 million in 3 months, 4 months. The amount of money that people are actually spending on this stuff is wild when you get under the hood about how much money some of the major protocols are making.
I have a friend who doesn't do crypto, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, I like launched a few like meme coins on Pumped Up Fun, and I made like 25 grand in a month. Can you like talk to me?"
Really?
Yeah. He's like, or 25 grand in 6 weeks or something like that. Like, he's like just one of those guys who's always side hustling the shit out of his life. And like, he's like, I've been doing this for 2 years, just looking for side hustles. I've never seen anything like this. And he's making Pumped Up Fun coins in like not even in a bull market.
Yeah, coin creation. That's the market to be in, or in the fees for trading. It's obscene how much people are paying for some of the fees on some of these platforms, because you have to be in and out so quickly that people pay unbelievable amounts like priority fees and to have the quickest platform. So
I mean, I just paid fees on Robinhood. Sometimes just convenience, you do it.
Yeah. Oh God, we've kind of gone right the way through. Let me see if there's any questions. Yeah, I like talking to you. So we kind of went through a ton of different topics there. Let me go.
Good little banter.
Let me go to the questions here, guys. Oh, if we've got any. No questions. Amazing. All right. Well, I think we can probably call it there. Always a pleasure to have you, Sats. We had you on about a month ago. We kind of have these rotating guest co-hosts, so it was great to have you back on. You can obviously go find Stats mainly on X, Punk9059. He is a female punk, which throws a lot of people off, but that is him. Also works at Memeland, and obviously they have a new trading product come out, so go out and check that out too. Anything else you want to plug about where to find you?
Punk9059 on X. Hit me up. Sometimes I'll respond.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you again next week. Hopefully the chop comes somewhat to an end in the next 6 weeks. But if not,
I mean, I'd rather a chop than a down market, but hopefully we fucking pump. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm just like waiting for this gold. I'm just waiting for this gold catch-up trade where CNBC's like Bitcoin catching up with gold, and like it just becomes, and we get the momentum again. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah. There's definitely been some dunking from TradFi on how much we've been underperforming recently, and those chickens are going to come home to roost one day.
Exactly. Be careful what you dunk on.
All right, guys. See you next week. Thanks a lot.
Binance is the world's #1 crypto exchange. Over 275 million users already trust their world-class security. Binance makes starting crypto as simple as it should be. Whether learning about crypto on Binance Academy or browsing hundreds of assets and viewing your newly created portfolio in a clear, easy-to-track dashboard, Binance helps you go at your own pace. For the hardcore traders, Binance Pro opens an industry-leading services for trading professionals with fully bespoke trading products, along with a suite of white glove services for VIP and institutional clients. Need support? 24/7 customer service is on hand whenever you need it. And with some of the lowest fees and deepest liquidity in the market, it's no surprise over 285 million users trust Binance for everything crypto. Download Binance today and get started in minutes. Binance is not available in certain countries, including the US. Check its terms for more.